Verdict came in today in the Bradley Manning case. Guilty on 19 out of the 21 counts. You might have seen in the rest of the media people saying, oh, wow, the government really couldn't prove their case on 2 of their counts. Whoop-de-doo. Now, of course, the charge that they're all talking about is aiding the enemy, which is a very heavy charge. And the fact that he released information on the internet apparently was enough to aid the enemy, according to the government, but they lost on that. Now, look, that is very important that they lost on it. If they had not lost on it, basically the press, and by extension, the American people would be considered the enemy. If you ever released information to the press at all, the press is considered people who give the information to the enemy, like Al-Qaeda. So it would have set a horrible, unbelievably bad precedent, but it was overcharging by a mile. I never realistically thought that they were going to get that. And this is a classic thing that the establishment does. They go so far insanely right-wing that when Bradley Manning gets convicted on 19 out of 21 charges, including 5 counts of espionage that he was convicted on, people go, oh, that's moderate. That's not moderate. That's an insane decision. So there was one other count that he was let off on in a particular video referring to Afghanistan that was encrypted. It's a long and complicated story, but it was one minor charge that he was acquitted on, but they also convicted him on other theft charges, etc. And I don't know if you can tell yet, but I'm angry, and you're certainly going to be able to tell. He still faces 136 possible years in prison. Sentencing begins tomorrow. That's, again, also insane. Now, you have to understand something. This guy released information to the public because he wanted to start a debate. There's actually no question about that. It's not like the government says, hey, you know what? He was actually trying to get this information to the Russians or to the Chinese, or secretly loved bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and was trying to get them the information. They never charged that. In fact, they never even charged that this information harmed a single individual. Aiding the enemy would have meant an automatic life sentence. Now, if the government had sought it, it would have meant a death penalty. The government didn't seek that, and he didn't get a life sentence. But if he gets 136 years, I got news for you, that's a life sentence. Now, why did he do it? Well, he says it. He says, I believe that if the general public, especially the American public, had access to the information contained within the Iraq and Afghan war logs, this could spark a domestic debate. Now, you could say, hey, you know what, he shouldn't have released it even if that was his intent. Okay, that's a fair argument, and I actually thought that he obviously admitted that he was guilty on a certain number of counts, actually leaking the information, and he should have gotten some time for it, and he did. He got 3 years already, 11 months of which was, according to the United Nations, pretty much tantamount to torture. Spent in solitary confinement, stripped naked at night, etc. They said it was inhumane, it was degrading, and whoop-de-doo, he is going to get 112 days off of his sentence for that. Wow, okay. But no one disputes that in fact, he did leak the information for the American people, for them to have a debate, not for Al-Qaeda, not for any of our enemies, not to do espionage, but to actually help the American people make decisions about the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And also, no one disputes that his information was incredibly relevant. For example, the Apache helicopter video where we saw that our own troops killed 12 innocent civilians, shot at 2 kids, killed 2 employees of Reuters, journalists, and fired at first responders, which is clearly a war crime. Oh, thank you for letting us know that and what our government's actually up to and what our military is actually up to. And so many more people that had died in Iraq and Afghanistan that our government wasn't telling us, when they're supposed to be our representatives and being our voice. But they're not. They're the voice of the establishment, and that's exactly what Bradley Manning was trying to reveal, and that is what he did reveal. And that's why the government hates him. It's like the Romans. You know, Reza Aslan was talking with Fox News the other day. He wrote a book, he's a scholar, wrote about Jesus. And he said, no one got crucified in Rome for rape or murder or robbery. The only crime you can get crucified and put up on a hill where everybody can see it was for a crime against the state. That was the heaviest crime. And we're right back there now. if you do a crime against the state, how dare you? To try to inform the American people in a democracy, that's it. Put them up on a hill. And that's what they're in the middle of doing to Bradley Manning, what they would love to do to Edward Snowden, what they would love to do to Julian Assange. This has become a sick and tyrannical government. Do you know that part of what he was convicted for is this? They said he was guilty of wrongfully and wantonly causing to be published on the internet intelligence belonging to the U.S. Wow, you put that on the internet? How dare you? Now, again, leaking classified information, he's already said, yes, I did that. And you want to convict him on that, and you want to give him a sentence on that, we all get it. But not 5 counts of espionage. And if you are a whistleblower, and by the way, he took this up the chain of command. He took that Apache helicopter to his superiors. They laughed him off. They said, oh, yeah, come on, buddy, get out of here. So all the people who say, oh, no, he should have done it the right way, he did do it the right way. When he ran out of options as a whistleblower, he went to the press. And they said, well, you put it on the internet, that's it, espionage. Another part of why he got convicted, they said, for having knowledge that intelligence published on the internet is accessible to the enemy. Well, there you have it. There goes all journalism. If you put it on the internet, and every single newspaper has a website, every single television station has a website. You put it on the internet, you're guilty of the heaviest crime, a crime against the beloved state. So all the people involved in this, whether it was the original people who arrested him, all the way through to the president, ought to be deeply embarrassed, but they're not. They're joyous. Yes, we crushed that kid who did this when he was 22 and was incredibly brave and courageous. He's now 25. Yes, we put him in solitary confinement for 11 months. We didn't even give him a trial for about 3 years. And now he might get 136 years. Ben Wisner of the ACLU says, since Manning already pled guilty to charges of leaking information, which carries significant punishment, it seems clear that the government was seeking to intimidate anyone who might consider revealing valuable information in the future. Well, that is exactly what they were trying to do. They're trying to make an example out of Bradley Manning. If you actually try to be a whistleblower, you talk about war crimes that the American government or American military has committed, we will put you on a stick and we'll put you on top of a hill. And by the way, the rest of the press will go along gleefully with us. They're the establishment press. Do you know that in the middle of the trial, the prosecution actually said, well, look, there are some certain trusted members of the press and establishments, some of the bigger papers and the TV stations, etc. If you leak information to them, well, that's a different standard than if you leak it generally to someone you think is a guardian of freedom on the internet, like and guardian of the American people, as Bradley Manning called it, like WikiLeaks or anyone else. I mean, people who the government can't trust to be their PR agents, who aren't the modern day Pravda. If you leak it to them, if you leak it to actual journalists who will share with the American people, we will come to crush you. Now, the rest of the press, what have they done? Well, I'll tell you. On average, according to BuzzFeed, when the story broke earlier today, the so-called cable news networks covered it on average for 4 minutes. Now, they've covered the Aaron Hernandez trial. A weak-ass tight end. I mean, he was a fine tight end as it was, but he's the second tight end on the Patriots. They've covered it for how many hours and hours and hours, let alone the Jodi Arias's, let alone every other nonsense case they threw out there for titillation and emotional porn. But when you have an actual case that's incredibly important to the country, 4 minutes. That's why the government trusts them, to sweep it under the rug. If you got somebody who's looking out for the American people, help us bury him. And the rest of the press did. So I fear what he's going to be sentenced for here. But so far, this 19 out of 21 counts is an abomination. Bradley Manning tried to help the American people in many ways. He is not only a classic whistleblower, but an American hero. It is way past time to free Bradley Manning. His time has been served enough is enough. He actually tried to look out for us. And I guess that was his biggest crime.